Hi, so today I'm going to show you how I paint a dog using alcohol inks. First of all, you're going to want to get some Yupo paper. It's a plastic paper. It looks like this on the outside. You can buy it in a pad. You can also buy just individual sheets. I get mine at Dick Blick. So once you have your Yupo paper, you want to go ahead and sketch out what you want to paint. I'm going to be painting a dog today, so I've got a nice sketch of a golden retriever. And I'm going to be using some masking fluid. And this is what I use to kind of go over the outline and keep places white that I don't want the ink to run into. The ink flows very easily. It's hard to control, but it can be really fun because of that. So you're going to want to use an old brush if you're using masking fluid. This one's all hard and crusty from masking fluid that I've used in the past. Don't use your best brushes. The masking fluid will ruin them. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go over these lines, these drawings that I've already done. And when I'm doing pets, I really like to make it look like a fur kind of sticking out everywhere, which is good for using a really stiff brush. You're not going for perfection. Perfection is really boring. You want it to have life, so you want things to be kind of moving and exciting to look at later when you put the ink on. So the masking fluid will kind of dry, and it's just like this weird rubbery stuff that you peel off later. So it won't stay on your painting. It's usually used for watercolor painting. So if you've done watercolor paintings, you know what this is all about. I've got a bunch of glitter on my table. My kids were making some kind of crafts down here recently, and they love glitter, so we've got glitter everywhere. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold or something going on here, allergies maybe. If you've got a reference picture, that might be helpful to kind of look at while you're doing this, because there may be spots that you're noticing are really shiny or white, or there's light reflecting there. And this is kind of one of those spots. I don't have the reference photo for this dog anymore. I'm not sure what happened. We've been moving my art studio to a new location, and some things have still kind of been lost and packed somewhere. But I just kind of want to do some art, as it's been a while. Sometimes these brushes start to get a little gunky. I just kind of wipe it off and keep going. There's a spot right here where the light reflects in this dog's eye, so I'm just going to kind of fill that in with masking fluid so I can keep it nice and white. And you kind of think about how fur grows on a dog. their noses. They usually have kind of a little line down the middle, and the fur kind of grows out from there. I like to do a lot of pet portraits. I think painting dogs and cats and people's pets are probably my favorite thing to do. It's always a good idea to kind of start from left to right. I did not do that this time. I kind of just went all over. I think that's probably how I always do it, but you do run the risk of getting your hand dragged into the masking fluid, and it's kind of sticky and it might come off in spots, so you'll have to keep an eye out for that if you find yourself struggling with the same thing. I'm kind of doing some of the outlines too. I like to have sort of the batik look. And also you can always paint over the areas that you've left white later if you don't want them to be white, but you can't really take all of the ink off. It kind of stains the Yupo paper, at least some of the colors do. You can remove some of it with alcohol ink, and sometimes you can remove it all, but not always. It's been a while since I've painted with alcohol ink, so this should be interesting. We'll see if I still remember what I'm doing here. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the masking fluid to dry, I'm going to go ahead and show you what else I'm going to use for the paint. My inks are pretty old, so I'm hoping they're still going to work okay. We'll find out what happens. I haven't used them in a couple of years, which is pretty sad to think about, but this is the brand that I use. I can get it on Amazon. Joann Fabrics often has a sale, which is where I try to stock up. There's another brand. Usually my bottles get pretty messy, so it's kind of hard to even see what color they are at this point, but that's okay, because what I'll do is put them in this little tray and I'll be able to see them a little better, and be able to dip my paintbrush in. Also, I use alcohol to move the ink around take the ink off, whatever I need to do. Some people use like a fluid. I don't think I have any. Let me see. Oh yeah, there's this blending fluid that you can get too that's pretty good. I just don't want to spend the money on it, so I don't usually get it, and this works great, and I can get it anywhere for under $1 usually. So one of the things you want to be careful of when working with alcohol and alcohol inks is the fumes. It can get kind of strong breathing that in, so you want to make sure you're in a well ventilated area if you're going to be doing it for a long period of time. This will stain your hands for a few days, so I got pretty used to having purple and pink hands, so we'll see what happens today. You can wear rubber gloves, like the kind you wear in a hospital setting. They can help, but they're really hot. So usually I put some alcohol in a container. We use these yogurt containers a lot. My mom saves them for me. They work great. Plus you can reuse them once the alcohol dries or the ink dries. You can just reuse it or add some more alcohol to the ink and keep going. Alright, so I think today I kind of just want to do something really fun with this and maybe not use realistic colors. This is a wild plum. Let's see how it looks. It looks pretty good still. And I think I might have had a purple. What's this? Let's see. This might be wild plum. Oh, here's purple. They're kind of stuck together. A little difficult to open today. Sometimes you get kind of like this weird crusty stuff and it can flake off, so you want to be careful about that. It might flake off onto your painting and it doesn't look as nice. So I've got my brush. It's a little bit wet with the alcohol, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start putting this on. Sometimes it splatters a little, but that's okay. I love the unexpected parts. You don't really know how it's gonna turn out. Let me show you what happens when you drop the alcohol on. It kind of moves it around, which is kind of an interesting effect, gives it some texture. Okay, so this brush is kind of small, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and look for something a little bit bigger. Let's see. Also, you don't want to use your best brushes for this because the ink does kind of, I don't know, I don't think it's great. Like, I have some really nice watercolor brushes for watercolor painting and I don't use them with my inks. I usually get craft brushes and I don't spend a lot of money on the brushes. I'm kind of putting the darker purple where maybe the shadows would be. I think I'll put a little bit in here, kind of give this hair a little bit more texture. And then I might take a little bit of orange or something. Whoops, I think this might have been a different color than Wild Plum. Looks like it might be more of a red. We'll see what happens. Alright, I'll put some more purple in here. Get these shadows a little bit more. Kind of around the nose. Put some more of this pink kind of here. We had a golden retriever lab mix that was just such a good dog. I miss him sometimes. He's been dead for a while now. He got kind of old and sick, and my oldest always thinks it's weird because our youngest has never met him. She talks about him, but our youngest doesn't know who he is. So I might go back in and get do like an orangey color just to put some more highlights in. And then maybe like a darker blue too, just to sort of really get those shadows darker. And I think this will be a really fun, kind of psychedelic looking golden retriever. You can see when I do this that I get these kind of brush strokes, but it all sort of floats. The ink sort of floats back together. Yeah, okay, so let me see. I'm going to look over here for some blue. Let's see what kind of blue I have. This looks like it might be kind of a turquoisey blue. Let's see. Yeah, that'll probably look good. Alright. And let's see. Got a little bit of this tangerine. I don't know if it's any good. It feels kind of sticky. So you want to be careful too, not to use the inks. You don't want to pour too much into a tray or whatever palette you're going to use. They do dry out. They've got alcohol in them and they evaporate, so you got to work quickly. Just now my mom came in and wanted to talk to me, so I had to stop for a minute, and when I came back my ink had kind of dried up. So you don't want to waste it. You kind of want to use it. It's like a quick process, which is another thing I kind of like about it. It's fun. You don't really know exactly what you're going to get. There's a lot of surprises, which I enjoy. I don't know if you guys can hear my dogs barking, but somebody is visiting us and they are going wild. And my kids are running around. I'm in my basement. We converted our basement into more of an art studio space, but we're still kind of working on it. So I can hear a lot of running around and excitement going on upstairs. Okay. I guess the trick with doing kind of a psychedelic dog is, what color do you do his tongue? I'm going to look for a light pink, I think. Maybe a peach color. I know I had one. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see how this looks. I've got some ink that kind of flaked off here. If you need a paper towel that can kind of help you get the ink out of your brush, and you put it in the alcohol. And if you need to change colors, we'll see how this peach turns out. It's kind of got a little bit where it's kind of separated. That's not my favorite. So one thing I can do is just kind of dab it right back out. And I think I'm going to go for something a little bit more yellow, which seems a little strange for a dog tongue, but I think it'll be fun if I can find a yellow. Yep, here's a nice green. Might do the background in green to kind of contrast with the pink. Well, I might not have yellow. Let's see. Yellow is a color I usually use quite a bit, so here's seashell pink. We can try that. Guess it's time to order some more colors. I still think yellow would be better. I am going to keep looking for yellow. Oh, let me see. That's pink too. So I have some really nice alcohol ink markers somewhere, but I do not know where. So I'm going to try this yellow Bic Market, because it kind of behaves the same way as the alcohol inks anyway. And I just really think this tongue needs to be yellow. super fun. Okay, let's see. I think I'm gonna go with a dark nose. I don't know if I have any black. I don't think I have any black, so I'm gonna try and mix some of this dark red with the purple. Kind of see what happens. Ooh, that's pretty red. I think I'll kind of use this red as a highlight, and here's espresso. That might work. We'll add some espresso. I'm getting some flaking from my container. Yeah, espresso looks pretty dark. So let's see if that will kind of work for this. I do have black. All right, let's see. Kind of running out of spots here for colors, but that is okay because I can always get another tray. All right, let's see. Let me get some black in here for this nose. And I'm going to use some black around the eyes because they always kind of have a black ring or a darker brown ring. Gonna mix a little bit of this orange in with this espresso color. And then once this dries and we take the masking fluid off, I usually go in again with a kind of drier brush and add in some details. You could also go in with markers. Copic has some nice markers. Kind of like in this brown color. Gonna need a pupil. Gonna get some black. I love this for dogs because their eyes are just, when you really look up close, they're kind of like this. They're not, the colors don't really have definite edges all the time. Kind of like blend together. make mistakes with this because you can always go in and wipe it off. You could wipe it off with a paper towel, with alcohol. I think I'm going to use a little bit of black to just kind of get in here and put some darker highlights. Or not highlights, I guess shadows. Okay, so once you have your alcohol ink on your painting, I do need to do the background, but for it to dry a little faster, you can take a blow dryer to it and just kind of blow dry it on low heat, and the ink will dry faster if you're in kind of a rush. And you want to get on to the next stage. Oops, that's black. Okay. I am thinking like a nice, this is pesto. Let's see what pesto looks like. So I am just going to put it on the top of this because the other side has some kind of paint in it, which happens a lot around here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the background, so everything can kind of dry while we are waiting. Yeah, I think this would be, I'd like this to be a little lighter, I think. Let me see, what color is this? Is this pesto or is this another color? Something a little brighter. If I had yellow, I would definitely put some yellow in here, but I think I must be out of yellow, unfortunately. Another thing you can do is just kind of drop circles. It will bleed over the masking fluid. It's not going to always keep it. You can see that happening here, but I kind of like the way the colors blend together and you get kind of this surprise. And it sort of looks like the dog is glowing a little bit or has sort of a aura, which is fun. I don't know if you can see everything I'm doing, so I'm going to move this up a little bit. Got kind of a small workspace here today, but it just goes to show that if you really want to do something, you will find a way to make it work. Oops. Alright, so I've got some pretty dark right hair spots going on, but I think it's gonna look pretty cool. I'm gonna put some in this little spot so I don't have any white showing. I like to cover the entire paper. Okay. I'm gonna put a few more circles just to make it a little bit more fun, because why not? Okay. So I think now what I'm going to do is let this dry, and I would blow dry it, but I'm not sure if I have a blow dryer down here, so I'm going to look, and if I do, it'll be a little quicker, but if not, that's okay, because it really doesn't take that long to dry. I do feel like this corner down here needs something a little bit darker. I don't know if you can see it all the way. Let me see. So down on the bottom, I just think, oh, see, I touched right here, so now I've got this weird fingerprint. Oop, that's kind of cool. Let me add a little bit of that in there. A little bit of extra alcohol kind of takes some of the color out. All right, so I want to darken up this corner a little bit because I think it'll kind of ground the picture. But I need something a little darker, yeah. And I think maybe even just a little bit more purple, kind of mixed with some black, kind of darken that up a little bit. And maybe just kind of in this fur, so it's got a little bit more texture when we take off the masking fluid. We'll kind of see some more color in there. Sometimes one of the hardest things to do when you're painting is to know when to stop, because you can kind of keep fixing things forever. And sometimes there's just a point where it actually starts getting worse instead of better. So you kind of have to pay attention to that and go slow when you get to this stage. And just do a little bit at a time and see if you like the changes. I'm just going to darken up a little bit around the tongue so it kind of stands out more, because I think that's kind of fun to have a yellow tongue. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and then I'll be back in a minute once this dries. Okay, I'm back, and it is nice and dry, so we can start taking the masking fluid off. My 3-year-old has joined me down here.
I need some quiet to paint.
You need some quiet? Okay. Well, I'm trying to make a video, so I need some quiet too.
I'll be quiet.
Okay. So she's down here painting her picture. So you may hear her talking. She likes to talk a lot. She's 3. Okay, so you can use these little gummy erasers that...
Gummy erasers?
Yeah, gummy erasers that people use when they're drawing, and they're kind of these like rubbery drawing. Oh, I don't have any erasers, but I don't use those. I just use my fingers. And so my hands usually get pretty messy. Okay, so you can see how this is coming off. It's nice and dry, the ink, so I'm not leaving fingerprints. And once you get it going, you can kind of just pull it off. And then you have this weird rubbery stuff, and your fingers may start to turn different colors, which, as I said before, is just kind of an occupational hazard. And I don't worry too much about it because I am homeschooling my kids and I don't have a job outside of the home except for this one. So it doesn't really matter if I walk around with rainbow hands too much. And most people know that I'm an artist, and so I kind of get away with it because they just say, oh, well, you know how those artists are. Okay, so it's just this weird rubbery stuff, which this kind of looks cool like a person.
Except guess what, Mom? I made my own purple.
You made your own purple, great.
Yeah, I mixed pink and purple up together to make my own purple.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we're kind of getting this fur here. Sometimes you can still see your pencil lines. This masking fluid usually picks them up, but there will be occasional pencil lines that you can see. And that doesn't really bother me. I kind of like the layers and the process, like seeing the process. But if that does bother you, you could always just go straight to masking fluid and not sketch out something first. And I am sure a lot of people do that. Okay. So if you kind of just go like this, you can feel if you've gotten all the masking fluid off. And I think I have. So now I'm going to go back in and maybe fix some details because my masking fluid kind of got a little in the way in a couple spots. So I'm going to kind of see if I can change it up a little, fill in some spots. I'm using pretty dry alcohol ink. It's gotten kind of dry in the tray, you can see, and I'm just not getting a lot of alcohol on my brush, so I can kind of go in and do this dry brush work where I want a little bit more control and maybe not so much spreading. And I kind of like like I said, the batik look, and I also kind of like having all this movement with the lines. Just gives it some energy. The noses can be kind of hard sometimes, I find. But I think that's true when you're doing people paintings or drawings too. And especially with dogs, because sometimes it's just a lot of darkness and it's kind of hard to see the lines really well. So my brush has gotten kind of messy. See how I don't know if you can see the bristles are kind of coming apart or spreading apart, which you wouldn't normally want with a paintbrush. But in this case, I kind of like it because it adds to this kind of hair.
What is Samantha doing?
She's just running around upstairs. We can hear my oldest upstairs banging around on the floor. She's running around. She's probably chasing our new kitten. I'm just gonna go in with like a little bit of something dark right here just to give it a little shadow.
Mom, is it okay if I sing?
Sure, you can sing. So I'm gonna get this a little bit damp and kind of put some blue in here because I just think it's a little too much white. Got a little bit of black mixed in on accident, but that's okay. Excuse me again. I got a little too much of a zigzag pattern going on here, so I'm just going to kind of break that up. And I probably just kind of got in a rush when I was putting on the masking fluid, and it just looks a little too exact, so I'm just going to kind of mess with that a little bit. And maybe this too, make it a little less smooth. Same with this right here, because I want this to be a little bit darker. I'm just going to kind of fill it in a little bit. There.
That's Miranda wanting to do. I can't concentrate because she's making too much noise. So I can't paint it of all that noise. Paint my cat.
Okay, so here it is pretty much finished. I think I might go back in and do a little bit more on the eyes or around the eyes to kind of darken them up on the side by the nose.
There's nobody.
And
I'll put my one. Thank you.
okay, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of dark in here. Sorry about that. I'm trying to hold this camera as steady as I can so I can kind of show you the details a little bit more.
Sorry about that for me.
Not for you, for my viewers who are watching my video.
Okay, well, I'm gonna paint still.
Okay, you keep painting. There. Okay. So,
Maybe get it a bit closer.
there you have it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching my video, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment and check back later because I'm going to be posting more videos doing alcohol ink paintings, and this is my passion. It's my favorite thing to do, and I just would like to share that with people and also get to know other people who are doing the same kind of work or interested in it. So leave a comment if you have anything else to say too. Thanks. Bye.